We are going to review and extend using this graph here. You are going to want to make sure that you copy down and darken in all of these points. Those are the key points, and label those 4 that I have labeled on the graph as well. The first key feature that we have talked about is the y-intercept, and that is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Is here at the point 0, 3. Then we talked about the x-intercepts. An x-intercept is also known as a root or a zero. Most commonly, a problem would refer to it as the roots. So this problem has 4 roots. I'm just listing them in order from left to right. This first one over here would be the point -5, 0. Next one here would be -2, 0. Then we have 1, 0. And finally 4, 0. The next thing we talked about was the increasing and decreasing intervals. Increasing intervals is where your graph has a positive slope. That first section would be -4, 0. How did I get that? So you're looking at the x values. So it has a positive slope, or the graph is going up from -4 to 0. And they are square brackets because there are solid dots there. There is one more section that also has a positive slope. Looking at your x values, that would start when x is 2, and it would continue all the way to the right. And as the graph continues to the right, the x values head towards positive infinity, and that gets a regular parenthesis. The remaining sections would be decreasing intervals. So this first section on the left, looking at the x values, would be from -6 to +4. And this other blue section would be from 0 to +2, all with square brackets. You are only using the regular parenthesis if there is a visible open circle, or if the graph heads towards negative or positive infinity. Positive intervals. This is where the graph has y values that are positive, or where the graph is above the x-axis. I'm going from left to right. Your first positive interval would be that section there, or would be from -6 to -5. This part in the middle, talking about intervals, we're using the x values, would be from -2 to +1. There's one last section that's also positive, and that's here at the end on the right. And that would be from 4 to positive infinity. And this needs to be a round regular parenthesis. So let's fix that here. Negative intervals is where the graph has y values that are negative, or where the graph is below the x-axis. First section would be here. Those x values are from -5 to -2. Second section here is from 1 to 4. So now we talked about relative maximum and relative minimum. So relative maximum is usually a peak, where you're looking for highest points. We have 2 here that are definite points. They are both relative maximums. Why are they relative maximums? Because over here on the right, this arrow keeps going and never ends. So those would be just listed as -6,4 and 0,3. It doesn't matter that one's higher than the other. They are both still relative maximum points. Relative minimum. Well, we have 2 minimum values. -4, -4, and 2, -5. The relative minimum would be -4, -4. It is a minimum point, so -4, -4. It is a minimum point, but it is not the absolute lowest point. So I'm going to skip down here and talk about the absolute minimum because that absolute minimum would be 2, -5. I skipped over absolute maximum, and there is no absolute maximum. Why? Because this graph just keeps on going up. If you were asked what is the minimum value, you're using the absolute minimum point, and you are only talking about the y value. So the minimum value of this graph would be y equals -5. So taking a look at my errors here, make sure for this positive interval, this has a round bracket around positive infinity, and the relative minimum should be the point -4, -4 in regular parentheses.